Hello, my friends. Oh my gosh, I am so excited. We have a repeat guest here on the podcast, except she's not who she was the last time we talked to her. You know, your cells regenerate, I think it's every 90 days. But if you're Erica Carrico, it might be like every 9 days. I don't know, girl. I'm going to introduce you formally in a minute. But first of all, how are you and where in the world are you coming in from today?
Oh my gosh, I love you. Right? That is like the best intro ever. Yes, I'm coming in from Boulder, Colorado and enjoying the beautiful fall day. I can see all the orange out there and just so grateful to be here in your space again. I love you. So thank you so much for having me.
Oh, God bless you, girl, and welcome back to the
Mm.
Adventure Paradox podcast. Always such an honor to be in your energy field to learn more about your
Likewise.
gifts and share them with our audience. So, if you don't know, if you missed the first time she was on our show, she is a purpose and prosperity mentor. She's featured in Forbes, the New York Times. She was in Inspire Coach magazine. She was also the International Coach of the Year in 2020. Like, what? She is the recent author of Awaken Your Purpose, which we're going to be talking about, her new book. And she is the host of a new podcast, which we'll get to in a little bit. It just launched. She is a horse owner, single mom of two, and she is a cancer survivor. I am so glad you're here with us. And one of my favorite expressions you use, Erica, is this idea of sharing original medicine.
Yeah.
Could we start with that? Because I also feel like, coming back to your intro and what I just shared, the fact that you're still alive is a
Yeah.
miracle. So,
Right.
original medicine and like being alive and what that is, that connection to purpose. Can we just start with that question and that phrase?
Yeah, absolutely. So original medicine it's an indigenous term, and it's this idea that we all have our own unique gifts that we're meant to share with the world. We all have this medicine that we're meant to bring to the world, and if we don't bring it out, those gifts are lost to the world for all time.
Wow. And indigenous, is this Australian indigenous medicine? Can you elaborate a little more on like where you first came across this phrase and started using it?
Actually, I first came across this phrase back in 2018 in Santa Fe, New Mexico, at a speaking retreat with my speaking mentor, Gail Larson, who is this like incredibly wise, just crone of a woman, and she is just so immersed in her original medicine, and that was really where that term came to be.
So powerful. I remember you talking about her, and then I
Yeah,
looked her up, and she's no longer receiving clients at the time I looked her up anyways.
right.
But
Yeah.
what did she teach you? What would you say as one of your strongest teachers? What was it that when you think of her, you think of this thing when it comes to speaking?
She really deepened purpose for me. So I showed up there and I was fairly new coach and 2 years out of my cancer diagnosis and thinking about going through a divorce and facing that. What does it look like if I leave my marriage? And for her, I looked at purpose in not a shallower way, but it was like, what are we here to do?
Mm.
What are we here? Like I almost thought of purpose as a career or something that we do in the world, right? But she took it one step further and she was like, no, we have medicine. We have original medicine and you're tapping into your medicine. You're understanding what your medicine is. Cancer is bringing your medicine to the forefront and to fruition, and we teach what it is that we're meant to learn, right? And so it was like a natural way for me to pull original medicine into purpose. And I speak about Gail, her in my book as well. But it just really deepened that and pulled all of the pieces together for me around finding your life purpose and your soul purpose and why we're here.
I heard a mic drop of yours recently. It was a real, I think you were speaking, I don't know, on a stage, something, but you said at a certain point, your soul will scream. And when
Yeah.
it does, you have to listen. Would you say more?
Cancer was my soul screaming. And the whole irony of that experience, I always say now that cancer was honestly one of the greatest blessings of my life. Like, I would never be where I am today if it
Mm.
weren't for that diagnosis. But there were so cancer was not the problem, it was the symptom, right? It was the symptom of me not living life in alignment. It was a symptom of me being not happy in my marriage, not happy in my career, suppressing myself, holding everything in, not loving myself, talking negatively to me, criticizing me. And my body was starting to whisper years before, decades before, with the anxiety and the depression and the and the boredom and the dread of like getting out of bed every day and having to face another day. And I wasn't listening. I just kept doing what society said. And, this is just normal. Go take the antidepressants, Erica. Go get on the anxiety. Oh, don't worry about drinking that glass of wine every night. You're a mom now. You should definitely be drinking the wine. Like, who cares what anyone says? And it was like society normalized feeling this way and living this way. And so I tried to normalize it too until literally my body and my soul were screaming at me like, you can how you are living life is killing you. You cannot do this anymore. And it threatened to actually kill me.
So scary. Um, Something came up yesterday, which is coming up as a question for you today. One of my children saw a child with a bald head, and they said, "What's that about?" And I said, "Well, it's about cancer." And she was like, "Don't tell me anymore. I don't want to know anymore. I'm too scared." And then later it came out, and we talked about, well, chemo to kill the cancer, and it kills good cells too, and all these different things. How did you talk to your children about cancer?
Whew. Um, it took me a while. They were so young at the time, right? I was still breastfeeding my baby and I had a toddler. So they were at the point where they wouldn't have understood. But
Mhm.
as they've gotten older and we've grown through the experience, they know that I've had cancer. They know that I lived through it. They know that it changed my life. But I talked to them about how I'm teaching them to think differently. I'm teaching them to live differently. I'm teaching them to be differently. I'm not teaching them to conform. I'm not teaching them to stop crying. I'm teaching them to be who they are and to do what they love and to show up and to be big and bold and brave and emotional and do the hard things and be the mess, right? So I am already teaching them what I think was a very early start of the buildup for me, right? So they're living very differently now, and they know that that's because of what I've been through. But yeah, we right now they're not afraid of it. They're not afraid of cancer, because I think they've seen what it's done for me.
So good. And I'm going to be playing this for my children, by the way,
Yeah, amazing.
because,
Yeah, it
and I
changed my
feel,
life.
well, like the mic drop for me here is not what society says it is,
Yes,
right? And
right.
filling that in with you birthed two creative babies in the last year, a book and a podcast. We're going to talk
Yes.
about both. But just for our listeners to keep up, and especially because a book becomes such a legacy for your children to like really dive into who you were at that time that you wrote it. And as you're talking about, all these things you're teaching your children, awakening your purpose is the mic drop of what you're teaching them.
Yeah.
Where did the title come from? And tell us a little bit about like the growth journey before you birthed the book, and then what date did it arrive Earthside?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I know the dedication in that book is actually to my kids. And when I was recording the audio version of the book, it took me like 8 times to have to go back and reread that before I could actually get through it without crying. Because it's like, there's so much of, I wish that there's so much of what I had to learn the hard way that I wish I would have known early, and I'm just so grateful that I have the opportunity to raise them differently now. But the Awaken Your Purpose was actually my very first coaching program way back in 2016. So after cancer, I got my life coaching certification. I had 12 years of corporate recruitment experience. So I had done a bunch of career coaching. It kind of seemed like the natural next step to start out as a heart-centered career coach. And, about a year into my own spiritual journey, my healing from cancer, my emotional journey, it was like, I don't necessarily want to be taking people out of corporate one job and moving them into another corporate job. I want to really help them find their life purpose. Why are they here? I want them to love what they're doing. I want them to have an impact. I want them to feel like they're making a difference in the world and to know that they don't have to wake up and slave away in a 9 to 5 and hate their life, right? So it started there very early on, and thousands of people went through my process. That was when I started getting a lot of recognition, and the media reached out, and it became a group program and then a course called Awaken Your Purpose. And it's had such impact that I wanted it to be accessible to everybody, and it just needed to become a book. So it was like, this for me was, I don't even really honestly care about what happens with the book. For me, it was like, I need to get this out of me as a book before I die to feel like my life is actually complete. Like I needed
Mm.
it out of me and into the world. And now it's like, okay, phew, okay, got that done, got that out, and it's where it needs to be. So it was kind of a natural progression. It finally all pulled together. It took me like 2 to 3 years to finally get, I was going through a divorce at the time, and then custody situations and court and all the things. But yeah, it took me about 3 years from writing it to finally getting it out this last spring.
It's so good. It's all in
Oh,
there, by the way, guys. And you're a beautiful, beautiful writer. I mean, I love the praise in here. When my experience, so I'm projecting here, but I'm guessing you can resonate with this question. When I finally got to the place of pressing publish, there were still a few spaces where I was like, I can't believe I'm putting that out there. Or am I
yes.
really comfortable? Like, here it goes.
Yeah.
What were the sort of last ones you were like, should I go change that a little? Or you weren't quite 100% comfortable with when you pressed publish? What was it like for you?
Yeah, I think a lot of creators struggle with this. It's like when you're talking about when you're in this business, your story is what you're putting out there, right? It's not like a product that you can hide behind. So it's like there are, we all have past traumas, we have childhood traumas, we have people in our lives that have hurt us, we have hurt people. I mean, there's a whole thing. And so for me, it's really been okay, how can I share my story and what led to my cancer without hurting people in my life, right? And throwing people under the bus and making it seem like I'm blaming other people for where I'm at, like really making sure that I'm taking ownership and accountability for my own healing and not playing the victim. So I think finding that fine line of what to share, how deep to go, and what to not
Yeah.
is always a challenge for me.
Oh, yeah. And for every one of us. And
Yeah,
also, I think so many people are never able to release it because they're hanging on to it or worried about how it might hurt someone else. Um, I think the other thing I really get out of this book is the importance of embracing your purpose, owning your story, right? For what it was, what it is. And I'm thinking of that quote, there are three sides to every story, yours, mine, and the truth, right?
yes,
And like
exactly.
everybody's got a different, like, oh, well, that's not how I saw it.
Right.
Yesterday my neighbor was talking to me about something. And I realized this expression came to my head like, I don't have a dog in that fight. You know what I mean? And
Right.
I was chuckling because that particular neighbor had an issue with a dog fight with another. And I was like, oh, interesting. I wonder if that's where that expression came from? But I think for me, you have all of these, and I love that they're bold, bold questions.
Yeah, they're very
They're
bold. Yes,
bold, folks, in
actual
case you
bold.
weren't sure. They're literally bold if you're watching this on YouTube. They're
Yep,
literally bold. And so the whole purpose of the book is to help someone else. And so when we get to that
yes,
place, it's like we become less attached to our story because
right.
we like know that the motive and reason that we are releasing it and anything we put out under the sun is going to have a shadow, right? And
Yeah,
it will be
right.
criticized, good, bad, beautiful,
Yep,
ugly, all the things,
yep,
right?
yep.
But we've released it because we're at peace with it. We did our soul work about why it's in there and how we think it might serve another. And sometimes the person we're serving is ourselves, our own
Right.
soul growth, like it's our own medicine. My experience of finally publishing that book, come what
Mhm.
may, and people had different experiences when it came out, right? Was that I needed to follow through with doing the thing I said I would do.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And your book is amazing, by the way. Like I read it word for word, just hanging on page by page. Like, what's next? What's
So
next?
sweet.
What's next?
You're
Yeah.
so sweet.
Yeah.
Well, feeling is reciprocal. I'm going to share a couple of these questions because I found myself, I've got all these dog ears on here.
Oh, cute.
Speaking of dogs, dog ears. We also are we both mini Aussie owners? Or
Yes,
both,
we
yeah,
are.
both mini
Mini
Aussie
Aussies,
owners.
got the horses, the mini
Yeah.
Aussies. Yeah,
We're
we're right
totally
there.
kindred
Yeah,
spirits, totally
we
kindred
are.
mountain girls.
Yep.
But I love this question. What would I do if I couldn't fail?
Yeah, that was a huge one for majority of my clients, I would say, and myself included.
Because it's so easy to fill in all the and it's
Yeah,
like, And what was it again that
yeah,
your original, like, come on. Like, it's here for you. Like, it's calling you out
yeah.
when you read that question.
And that is where so many of us, that's where so many dreams die, is right there.
Yeah.
Because people are afraid they're going to fail. And it's like, okay, but what if you don't?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Another really powerful one on here, this idea of non-negotiables, which
Yeah.
again, I think people are like, well, I could have the career, but then I won't be at home with my kids, right? What are non-negotiables for me in my dream career or business?
Which is so powerful. And this is where it's like, I love that you brought that up because you can have both, right? Like my daughter, here I am, I have this multi-million dollar company. And I was talking to my daughter the other day about something, and she was like, well, yeah, you're a stay-at-home mom, right? And she literally thinks I'm a stay-at-home mom because I am here all the time for her, you know? And I have designed it so that yes, I work and I earn, but I am with my kids when they are here and when they are home, and I am doing all the mom things. And she literally thinks I'm a stay-at-home mom. Like you can absolutely have both.
Absolutely. That's so beautiful. And I love like these little ways you peppered in your children and your experience with your family. The goal, I'm just going to read this from page 75. To feel safe enough to be my genuine self in intimate relationships.
Oh
And
my
then
goodness.
you're talking to your daughter, Molly, what do you want to be when you grow up? She paused for a moment, seeming a bit confused. She finally looked up at me and said, Mommy, when I grow up, I want to be myself.
I know.
Right?
Little
I'm
makes me
dying over
emotional.
here.
I know. It's like what child says that? I mean,
To
and
me, one who got the message from her mom that like
oh,
you are exactly who you're supposed to be. You're already perfect.
100%. And that is something that we all need to know.
Yeah, there were many moments in here where I like cried. I also kept writing. I'm gonna show it. I kept writing boom,
Oh,
boom.
I love
So,
that.
so this
That's
particular
amazing.
one, you said, this is on 69. I know my purpose, and even if I'm shaking in my boots, I'm going for it. This is why I'm here, folks.
Oh,
Like Erica, like these are, oh, and this is coming right after these prayers, divine spirit flow through me, let love radiate from my being, use me as a conduit for your boundless love, allowing my essence to channel from you through me and out into the world where it's needed most. Oh, friends, I know you needed that prayer as much as we did today. Like, these beautiful passages that you included here. I'm going to read one more. Maybe we'll move on, but we could stay in here for the whole time. I love this right here. Like you're kind of telling your cancer journey story here, but you have this, why is this happening? I kept saying out loud. In that moment, I heard the words loud and clear. Remission. Remember your mission. Remember why you're here. Eric, I'm getting chills.
Same, girl. I have chills and tears because that right there was the moment all of this was born.
So good. So, your book is out now, and I know we've been talking about starting a podcast for a while, but like tell me about what happened because I had actually the reverse experience where I started my podcast December 22nd, 2022. And then I birthed my book baby
Okay, yeah, well
August
done. So,
30th,
oh my gosh.
2023. So it's like, but
Yeah.
what happened for me was I started to really hear myself speaking and reflecting and connecting with all of these incredible guests and hearing their wisdom of becoming the person you say you are or say you want to be or that you what you came here for. Like that's kind of like what came first for me. And then I started hearing like, oh, you said you would write a book about that experience and you still haven't like you've actually written it, you just haven't like published it, like you're cheating yourself. So for me it happened the other way, but I'm curious for you, like what was the connection? And I also know that in the middle there was a whole burn down of this incredible business empire that you created. I
Yes.
don't know if you want to talk about that, but I know a
Sure.
lot of entrepreneurs and mompreneurs out there need to hear that if it's not working, like the
Yep.
dream, the thing that you can start again, you can re-mission your mission.
Yeah. Amen, girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I that is so true. I hadn't even thought about it like that. The book came out in the spring. I burned everything down in my business, literally fired everyone, shut everything off and down in June of this year. Took a couple of months to get really clear on what I wanted to again realign. Like I think it had grown so quickly and so fast over the years that I ended up, you and I talked about this last summer, I ended up in a CEO position, and I literally was like the manager of my sales and my marketing team, and I was dealing with the war between the two, right? So it was like the sales team was always blaming marketing for not enough leads and not good enough leads, and then marketing was like, well, the sales team can't close the
Yeah.
leads. And that's all I heard for 3 years, and I wanted to tear my hair out. It was like, this is not why I started this business. This is not what I envisioned. I don't have any time to do anything else except for babysit. And I was
Mm,
done.
yeah.
And we were earning $200,000 a month. And I was like, bye, see ya, shut it all down. And so when I had this time to reflect, it was like, I want to run the business and have the impact. That's the most important thing for me. Um, I want to be able to teach my clients and teach. I have gone through so much and I have so much to share, and I need to be getting that out, not dealing
Mm,
with being the CEO and manager of sales and marketing. So anyway, long story short, rehired very strategically, relaunched in August. It's honestly flown straight back to where it was, but I am not the man. I have people overlooking the sales team and the marketing team, and I am 100% focused, which gave me the space to finally think about a podcast. And it was like, why am I not doing this? I have so much to say and to share. Yeah, and and everybody, people will say, "Oh, she's lucky and that's why she's made it," or she, whatever. They have these misconceptions, and it's like, I am not lucky at all. People like luck has not been a part of my journey. I mean, people don't see the trauma and the divorce and the cancer and the custody battles and the single mom and the exhaustion and all the things that go behind the scenes of what I'm trying to do. And it's like I keep getting up every time I get knocked down, and I've turned it into something, really beautiful and a healing experience. And it's like, that's what I've done. And so I just really want to share a lot of my stories that people haven't seen. They've seen the highlight reel, and I want to show that there is a behind the scenes. And if I can turn my mess into millions, anybody can. So it's been really great to finally be able to say I'm not just sharing the highlight reel anymore. And that's what the podcast is all about. It's like the hard yards of what goes on behind the scenes and how we, it's not luck that gets us to where we want to be. It's intention, it's imagination, it's the will to hold the vision, it's the getting up every time we fail, right? There is work behind all of this, and it's so possible if you know what you want, and you have the desire and the capacity to hold that, you're going to get there.
totally. And the podcast title, Mess to Millions, like where did that come from? Where were you? Like, where did that one come from?
Well, I was sitting in my mess of a burned down business.
Mm, mm, mm.
And it was like, how many times have I been in this mess, and how many million, my business at this point has made over 10 million and since it's been in existence. And it's like I have turned so many messes into millions, and it's not even a monetary millions. It's like I have impacted millions of people at this point as well. And so I think so much of that has come from my mess. Like if my mess hadn't have happened in all the ways, all the
Mhm.
messes, I would
Mhm.
never be where I am today. I would not be where I am. And so it's really important. I think we talk a lot about resilience. We talk a lot about yeah, just consciousness and awareness and healing and growth and expansion and transformation. And we're going to get into the nitty gritties of, building a business and talking to
Mhm.
entrepreneurs as well. But if we can turn our life around, anyone can.
Oh, for sure. And I'm curious, backing up a little bit, did you
Yeah.
rehire anyone when you
Oh,
did
yeah.
your burn down? Yeah.
I
And
rehired everyone. I mean,
okay, yeah,
not
yeah.
not the same people.
But like, how did you pick as you were interviewing from? Because I feel like it's that like phoenix from the ashes, where,
Yes.
in one of my favorite quotes, I don't know if I've shared this one with you that I heard sometime in the last year was, I kept seeing red flags and painting them green. So
Girl,
like as you're
yes.
rehiring and someone saying like, "Oh yeah, I work great, but like on my own schedule." And you're like, "Oh no, it's that
Right.
girl on her and she's not on my." Like what were your thoughts, your parameters, your framework as you rehired after the burn down?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Well, I was very intentional. I mean, I spent 5 years building that team, and a lot of them had been with me for 4 or 5 years. We kind of piecemealed things together. And what I realized was that they they had created this toxicity. They didn't have the cultural fit of where we were going, and their skill sets were all capped. So it was like this thing was never, I held on to them for so long because they were my family. They were friends. I had like almost a codependent type of relationship with them, and I was burning my, I mean, I was going in the red to try and save my payroll and pay everybody except for me. And it's like, I gotta not do this anymore, right? So it was 9 months of that before I finally made the call. And I was like, I have to save myself here. So let everyone go. And when I was building it back up, it was like, okay, I went from a team of 15. Now I think there's nine, but it was like, who do I need? Where were the missing gaps? What did I
Mhm.
love? What did I not love? What types of commission structures, pay structures did I love? What was not working? And I was very intentional and built where there were gaps.
Yeah.
And there's people now where there weren't before. And it's all covered. So it was like I was able to rehire people with the different skill sets that I really needed and their cultural fit as well, which was that's a really important factor to consider, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was something I wasn't before. It was like, oh, I just want this great person, and when they're not a cultural fit, it's kind of a nightmare on the inside.
Yeah, totally. Oh my gosh, so true. Um I'm thinking about so many different things at once right now, but one of the
Next
things
episode, we can talk about we'll come back again.
we'll do it again. We'll do it around three. So one of the things I'm thinking about is as you're like looking at these gaps,
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of nervous system reprogramming and study work recently, somatic work, etc. And a term I came across is this idea of layers of support. And so the thing is, isn't that
Oh,
good? So good, right?
yes.
When you're going through certain seasons, like a launch or you're gonna need more support. It's kind of like that newborn baby where like,
Right.
you're going through a big sales, you're starting like you're gonna need more support because people will have more questions at the beginning of, I can't log in, whatever the deal is, like it's
Yes,
not working. Whereas other days you might have sort of that like maintenance support that you need.
totally.
How do you think about those two things with where your business is now? And more importantly, given everything you've learned, the tens of millions you've made already, going through all these different messes, like how do you keep it clean and sort of visualize going forward with layers of support versus maintenance support?
I love that. I think we have a combination of both right now. So, but you're right, the layers of support. I was missing an ops person, so all 15 people were reporting into me, and it was like, hell no, this is not, I cannot do
You
this
got 15 girlfriends
anymore.
calling every day? Oh my
Now
God.
there is one person who reports into me, and everybody else reports into her. Brilliant,
So good.
brilliant,
So
brilliant.
good.
And then the other thing is, I now have somebody that oversees the sales and the marketing, and they love that. They love that. That is their jam. They know funnels, they know ads, they know marketing. So, ads person, salesperson. So, it's like the maintenance is there, but then I have those extra layers of support so that I'm not responsible for the team members. I'm not responsible for tracking the data and the stats and making the changes in the funnels. Like, I don't know that stuff. I don't want to know that stuff, right? Another two big hires that I made. I think what stopped me from doing a podcast for so long was not knowing all the components and how to pull them all together. And I just wanted someone to do it for me so that I could speak and whatever. So I signed with a
Mm.
podcast network. I show up, I record the show, I get to do all the things. They do everything on the back end. And social media is something that I've had a hate relationship with for a really long time. But I also see the importance after burning it down. I was so heavily reliant on paid ads. I wasn't
Mm.
putting any effort into organic growth. And so I was like, go big or go home. So I now hired a pretty high-end social media company to support the organic side so that if and when our ads do fail, we have organic to compensate, right? So it's like I really learned these big lessons and kind of
Mhm.
squeezed them all into one big restructure. But so far, it just feels so much better and more balanced, you know?
So good. I love like the filling of the gaps, and
Yes.
something that came up recently with a client I was working with, and we're doing a spiritual horse package,
Ooh, cool. Oh my
is when
gosh.
you feel like something's missing. And I feel like a lot of horsewomen who maybe they had horses when they grew up, whatever it is, and they feel like something's missing. And then sometimes they get into it. The same with like a business, right? Where you like get into it, but it might be a little more horse than you were looking
Oh
for.
yeah. Done that.
Let's hear. Yeah, yeah. Because and I know we talked about this in the last interview, but I remember exactly where I was in Seattle at the airport when I got the call from you that you pushed the green button. You went for it. You got your first horse as an adult. You're back
Yes.
in the saddle. And like you
Yes.
had been kind of, we talked about it for a while, but I'd love to hear a little more about where you are now with your horse, your
Yes.
origin story of like, was something missing in your life, and like how, and I think you have multiple horses now, and like how do they complete you?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, bringing them back into I don't even know why I went so long without them. Right? It's like I will never not have a horse again. For me, it's yeah, definitely my place of grounding. I think I grew up, in the rodeo and doing trail rides with like in the old cowgirl cowboy world in New Mexico, and I didn't learn a lot of like the basics and the groundwork and the spiritual side of horses. And so it's really been an amazing experience now because I'm in this space also of spirituality and awareness and energy and consciousness. So it's like I feel like a beginner because I'm learning so much from my horse and horses, and they're learning so much from me. And it's just been this whole getting to know myself again, and they're sort of taking me on this journey that I need to be on around my own growth as well. And I've made some really cool choices with them. I actually just moved them out to up where my mountain house is, right? I had this whole thing of like, I'm teaching my kids to be who they are and to be free and expansive. And I'm learning to be who I am and to be free and expansive. But I live on the front range and I'm boarding my horses in a stall and we're riding in arenas. And I'm like, this isn't how I grew up. And this isn't how horses I feel should live. And so I'm paying double to see them less, but to have them be on 10,000 acres of land in the
Mm.
mountains and they get to run and graze and be free and ride, like when we ride now, it's like on open-ended land. And I don't know, it's just been a real amazing transformational experience to open them up to freedom and to allow them to be who they are and to witness the change in them and even their behavior and their happiness and their energy, not keeping them in the box that we think they should be in.
Totally. That's what I was just thinking about. And I actually had a client asking me this week, how much space does a horse need to live? Because I have da, 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 da. And then she was like, aren't they supposed to be like out in the field? And I was like, well, here's the reality. Lots of people, yes, it's just a box.
Totally.
And then they take them out and they run them. And there's actually a whole programming to create that, right?
Right.
This whole history, this whole, I heard something recently about trauma, that we actually have in our DNA the trauma of our ancestors. Okay,
Right.
if that's true, what about horses?
It'd be the same, wouldn't it?
Are they potentially also carrying trauma of their racehorse origin story or Mustang story, like running, whatever it was? So interesting. I'd love to hear like how has their energetic connection changed now that you're with them, and like because it seems like it all is sort of happening, these major shifts at the
Yeah.
same time with all
Yeah.
the other things.
Absolutely. I mean, just the one that I've been really she's like my heart horse, so I'll just talk about her. I mean, when she was pent up in her, it wasn't a small stall, it was a 2 horse pen, but it was not big, right? And I would take her out on the open trail or the road, and she just would get, I'd immediately start, if I wanted to lope her, she would immediately start like kicking up her heels and, getting a little bit naughty and fiery and ornery. And it was like, okay, well, this is fine, but not with me on your back, Scylla. We got to go back to a walk or a trot now, right? Like, you can't, she's young, she's 6. But out there, she gets to be a horse. And so when I get on her and we start loping, she is like such a gem. And she is so perfect because she's gotten it out of her system and she gets to be a horse every day. And it's like the same thing with humans, right? We trap ourselves in these boxes of concrete homes and careers and all the limitations we put on ourselves. It can't do this, it can't do that. And it's like we wonder why we're anxious and depressed. Well, when you free us, look how our behavior changes. I mean, they're the same. We free them, we give them the open space to be themselves, and their whole energy and their behavior changes, right? It's incredible, really.
It's so good. I love it. Okay, we can keep talking forever,
I
but I'm
know.
looking at the time
I know.
and I want to be courteous to our listeners. How can they find you? We'll have all of this in the show notes, but if they are like, oh, this is my girl, I want to know how to work with you, do all of this, how can they find you?
Yeah, amazing. I mean, if you just Google Erica Carrico, we come up, but my website is ericacarrico.com. You can just DM me on Instagram. It's Erica Lynn Carrico. That's probably the best way. Just send me a DM on Instagram. But yeah, you can find us all the places. The book is on everywhere: Amazon, Audible, Kindle, podcast is on Spotify and Apple iTunes. I mean, it's whatever. You can find us anywhere you look. So we're there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your original medicine, Erica. Hats off to you in all that you're doing, all that you are, all that you will be. And if you have one last thought for our listeners, go ahead.
Ugh, you do have a voice, you do have a purpose, your story counts, your voice matters, and you honestly can have and be anything that you want. And just take the baby steps and start making it happen.
Amen. Starts with the first
Amen.
step, everybody.
Love you, girl.
Thanks, y'all. If you loved this, share with a friend, subscribe, follow, leave us a review, and we will see you next time. Bye.